Two core subjects we got to talk about in today's video. We got to talk about the huge news that just came out and talk about what this means for stocks, what this means for the market in general. Okay, that's going to be the smaller thing we're going to start talking about here at the beginning. Then we're going to get into the much bigger subject, which I want to dive into what actually scares me in the market. I think sometimes people think I'm fearless in the market because I, obviously buy when stocks are crashing and things like that. But there's one thing out there that I don't think anybody's looking at that actually scares me. And this hasn't been priced in the market. It has nothing to do with quantitative tightening or quantitative easing or the Fed lowering or raising interest rates or inflation rates or earnings or anything like that. This subject is so big that it makes all those look like child's play, to be completely honest. And I want to dive in and I want to show you exactly what's going on and how bad this could potentially get, okay? And that's, like I said, that's something that hasn't even been priced into this market. Almost everything else has been priced in. This core thing, it has not been priced in. And that's the one thing that actually truly scares me. Hope you guys enjoyed today's video. As always, thank you so much for everybody that's subscribed to the channel. I appreciate each and every one of you for being here as always, okay? So obviously, very big day for the market. All the indexes very, very green here today. It looked like, if you go to bed late, like I go to bed late, I go to bed a few hours before the market closes, essentially, or before the market opens. And what I saw was futures were down huge across the board. Dow was down, I can't even remember. It was down hundreds and hundreds of points. Nasdaq was down big. S&P 500 is down big. All the futures were down huge. Okay, and then we have a nice green day today, and we'll talk about that in just a moment. But look at the names here today. Netflix up 8% plus, Beyond up 8% plus, PayPal up 5% plus, Target, Fubo, Meta, all 5% plus movers, Corsair, Shopify, Palantir, those are all about 4% movers there. Everywhere you look is 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and some 8% movers here today. Very green day out there in the market, and a day that we haven't had in it seems like forever, because for the last 6 weeks it seems like just every single day you wake up, the stocks are down huge again and again and again, essentially, okay? Now, Apple was it was planned that Apple was supposed to have a huge down day today, okay? And this got spoiled. It got ruined for the shorts and the folks that have put options on Apple, okay? And we'll talk about that in just a moment. But today was supposed to be a big downward day. They had planned everything perfectly, okay? They had put this story out that basically Apple is not going to have some production hike on iPhone 14, right? Which no one has any clue or conception if that is true, false, anything like that, right? Just a day or two ago, there was reports out that iPhone 14 was selling better than iPhone 13, right? This also doesn't even tell us if iPhone 14 could still be selling better than iPhone 13 was. We have no clue. No one has any clue other than obviously Apple, and they run the numbers. But when it comes to stock market, the truth doesn't really matter, at least when it comes to something like this, right? So let's say, and this is something Kramer covered this subject in a great detail 15 years ago, and he explained how if you're trying to manipulate stocks, if you're a big fund and you have let's say a sizable short position, you have a lot of put options, and you need a stock to go down, right? Which there's been a lot of folks buying a lot of puts on Apple recently. You'll put out a little thing out there that, oh, I heard the rumor is that iPhone 14. They're not going to have some production hike there or something like that. Everybody freaks out. Obviously, the algorithms freak out, and selling ensues, right? And so this is something that's played out there all the time. And as long as you have the connections, you can get all of a sudden that out there, and then all of a sudden all the media picks up on it. All you need to get it out is on one main publication, and then everybody picks up on it, and all of a sudden it's this big story, essentially, okay? No one has any clue or conception if that's true or not. No one knows, okay? iPhone 14 might be selling amazing. It might be selling horrible. I don't know. None of us know, to be quite honest. But, you throw a rumor like that out there, and it will move the stock. Unfortunately, they got screwed in that situation, although there was a planned attack there. And, I just think it's always good to kind of look at something like this. And this shows you, like, the delivery dates right now. And it looks like the Pros are selling, obviously, phenomenal. It looks like the iPhone 14 specifically is not selling well. So this is where you could put out like a half-truth report, where basically you put that out, right? And you say iPhone 14, everybody assumes it means it's all iPhone 14s, right? When maybe it's just this particular iPhone 14. You see what they did there, right? that's just an easy way of kind of manipulating the stock down, and they do this stuff all the time on Wall Street. This is not uncommon. This is not new. This has been going on for honestly generations of folks that have been on Wall Street have been doing it this way. So we'll see what happens when Apple's earnings come out, obviously at the end of October, and we'll hear the truth around that, or beginning in November we'll hear the truth. But from what it looks like iPhone 14 Pro and Pro Max are selling unbelievably well. It looks like there's major weakness in the regular iPhone 14, but honestly, I don't know who the heck wants the regular iPhone 14. Like, everybody I know, at least, like, if they're going to get the new iPhone, they're getting these guys. Like, why would you, just save $100 when you can get something that's got better cameras and better technology and all those sorts of things, or $100 or $200 like that? If you're going to ball out, like, you might as well ball out all the way, right? Or just keep your iPhone in general at that point in time, right? Now, back to why the markets obviously had a big boost up here today. Well, this news came out. If you didn't see this, Bank of England will suspend its planned start of selling next week and begin temporarily buying long-term dated bonds in order to calm the market chaos unleashed by the new government's so-called mini-budget. Yields of the UK government bonds, known as gilts, were on course for their sharpest monthly rise since at least 1957, as investors fled British fixed income markets following a new fiscal policy announced. The measure includes large swaths of unfunded tax cuts that have drawn global criticism, obviously all that. This is basically the Bank of England is blinking. Okay, and everybody's looking at this and they're like, oh, so back to the money printers go on. Okay, back to risk on, baby. And then people see this and they're like, how long till the Fed does something like this? A month, 2 months, 3 months? Like, when's the Fed going to pivot here? Because if the Bank of England just pivots, well, I wonder who's next up here. We'll see what happens with that, but that's why the markets went risk on today, is because of this whole situation. And so that's going on, okay? Now, let's talk about the much more important subject, in my opinion, in this video. What scares Jeremy? Well, there's something that scares me in a major way, and it makes everything else look like child's play. And this is what it is, okay? I'm going to take a moment to show you one of the most fascinating stock market related services I've come across in some time. It's called Tendies. It allows you to see unusual options activity in stocks you might be interested in, you might own, you're looking into, things like that, okay? And with the pinned comment down there, you get free access to everything I'm showing you here right now, okay? Now, I've been talking a little bit about AMD stock, right? AMD stock's a stock that's been absolutely destroyed recently. This is fascinating, I saw here today, okay? AMD $65 call. Somebody placed a block trade. This is expiring on November 18th, so not that far into the future. $10 million of premium they paid here, okay? Now, I'm guessing that same person's also playing some $65 puts, so I'm guessing they think there's going to be a whole lot of volatility in this baby. But look at the move. Much smaller, 7.1 million.
Tendies is a social trading app that's giving away hundreds of dollars worth of tools for free, saving you hundreds per month if you look at what other services charge for the same stuff. I personally love the options flow, which is unbelievably helpful at predicting price movements in the options market. I also want to show you Brokerage Connect, where you can integrate your portfolio so you can monitor your performance and do the necessary research to be profitable in this environment. All the due diligence in one place, and you have access to constantly refreshing feed of information relevant to you in your portfolio. Make sure you click the pinned comment down there to get free access to all of this I showed you in this video here today. That will be pinned comment.
So, we've had a series of events that have unfolded here recently that are getting very sketchy, let's call it that, okay? So, if you didn't see this, this happened about a day or two ago. The Coast Guard spots Chinese and Russian naval ships off Alaskan island. Okay, the Coast Guard, Cutter Kimball, later discovered there were 2 other Chinese naval ships and 4 Russian naval vessels, including a destroyer, all in single formation. The Honolulu-based Kimball, a 418-foot vessel, observed as the ships broke formation and dispersed. A C-130 Hercules provided air support for the Kimball for the Coast Guard station in Kodiak. While the formation has operated in accordance with international rules and norms, we will meet presence with presence to ensure there are no disruptions to United States interest in the maritime environment around Alaska. So, there's a scenario that is very, very strange, but it definitely, I don't know what they were up to, But let's put it this way. If they weren't up to anything, they were at least trying to show that they're boys, okay? China and Russia are really starting to get close, and very, very close in this. Basically, everything's just transpired over the last few years has made Russia and China get much, much closer than we've kind of ever seen, okay? And it's definitely worrisome because you're talking about two major countries, obviously, there. And they definitely are alliances. There's no doubt about that. And, if you're going to think about things potentially escalating more, it's very clear who's going to be on certain sides, right? You're going to have the United States and Europe on one side, and you're going to have China and Russia on the other side. And it's becoming more and more apparent. And, when they're doing, whether it's exercises like this or just whatever this thing was, it's definitely, it kind of makes you, perk your ears up a little bit and be like, well, okay, what's going on there, okay? Now, the next level of severity is this. And this obviously just happened a day ago or so, okay? Mystery leaks reported in the Nord Stream pipelines. So that right off the bat, that was very sketchy in itself, right? It was like, wait, all of a sudden these pipelines are leaking? Like, what are the chances of that? Like, all of a sudden, just like, what? And one of them is like super new. So it's like, what's going on here, man? That smelled sketchy from the start. But now it's gotten way sketchier, okay? Seismologists suspect explosions damaged undersea pipelines that carry Russian gas. Okay, now we're talking. 2 undersea leaks that began in the Russian-owned Nord Stream gas pipelines on Monday were likely caused by powerful underwater explosions, according to Swedish and Danish seismographic data. It is, quote, very clear from the seismic record that these are blasts, says the director of Swedish National blah, 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 okay? These are not earthquakes. These are not landslides underwater. German and Danish officials said both the Nord Stream 1 and Nord Stream 2 pipelines showed sudden losses of pressure late Monday, which they said could be only caused by a leak from large holes in the pipelines. Neither of the pipelines are active, as Russia has cut gas deliveries in them, but both were filled with natural gas when the drop in pressure occurred. Russian energy giant Gazprom, a state entity, owns a controlling interest in both pipelines. Denmark's prime minister said Thursday that her government suspected the leaks were deliberate actions. Okay, now, who did it? Who did it? Okay. Was it Russia doing it? There could be reasons why they might do that. There could be other reasons why that might not make sense, right? Was it the United States? There definitely could be reasons why the United States would do something like this. There might also be reasons why the United States wouldn't have done something like this. Was it Europe? I don't know. Was it somebody else? Rogue? I don't know. It seems like whatever happened there is very well planned and executed. And from my standpoint, there aren't many that could have pulled off something like this. And whoever pulled off something like this, they're very powerful. Okay? And so it's too well executed, man. So what we're looking at here is now a very particular situation where no one really knows who did it. I think it's between two. Let's just call it that. I don't want to put it on anybody, but I think it's between two. And now this is a situation we have potential escalation, right? And so when you see things like this, it's like, okay, this is like escalating here. I don't like the way this is going, right? And these are the sorts of things that definitely cause me to kind of look at things and be a little fearful. Because I'm looking at this and I'm like, there's clear kind of escalations happening here. Not just through word choice, but also actions. It's one thing for, somebody to get on the media and say blah, 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 or in a press conference say blah, blah, blah. It's another when you see actions that are escalating, right? Such as an action like this. Such as, hey, we're going to take a bunch of Russian ships and Chinese ships over to somewhere remotely close to U.S. land. These are actions that are escalating, okay? And so that's this type of stuff I look at, and I'm like, what's going on here, man? We better, chill a little bit, everybody involved in this, because, at the pace things are going there, it could get a lot uglier a lot faster. Now, everybody's been looking at the VIX, and they're like, when's the VIX going to go on that beast run? Because that's what everybody's really been thinking about, right? Is, volatility in the market, and we haven't had that really like epic run in VIX recently, right? We obviously did in the Rona crash, right? We did in the great financial crisis. We did when there was a double dip recession fears. But everybody's looking at this and like, when are we going to get that big VIX? And I've even thought about this. I'm like, what could cause the VIX to go insane? And I've thought about it. I'm like, earnings can't really cause the VIX to go insane like that, 40 plus. I'm like, I'm looking at the asset markets and I'm like, I don't think there's anything out there that would cause everybody to panic and the VIX to spike to ridiculous levels. But the thing I just showed you, if we get more and more escalations, that's the thing that will make the VIX go to 40, 50, 60 and make people absolutely lose their minds. That's the only thing I can see out there that would cause everybody to lose their minds and start panic selling everything off and just, crazy move up in VIX and just massive, down 10% type day in the index or something like that. Outside of that, there's nothing. There's literally nothing other than that. And I'm like, whew, there's definitely some escalation there, okay? Now, in regards to this, do keep this in mind. Mr. Ray Dalio warned of this, years ago. He warned of the situation of superpowers and the United States and China butting heads as China became more powerful. And what we saw over time was, China and U.S. used to be pretty close, about as close as you can get, considering, one's a capitalistic society and, I guess you can say both are a little bit of capitalistic societies, right? But one's a democracy and one's obviously, communist. But, we used to have a pretty good relationship, and then obviously things deteriorated over time. The tariffs came, then Rona came, which could have been an attack back for tariffs, right? And it's kind of like, oh, you want to do that? Oh, bye to your second term. See you later. And obviously, as soon as Rona took off, there was no chance of a second term in that situation, right? And so that could have definitely been a little payback there. And when you're on a communist, a regime of communism, you can control your population better in situations like that, right? And so there's all these different factors there. Ray Dalio called this out, quite some time ago. And the problem is, I don't know if this is necessarily, I don't think this is going away. I think things are going to continue to butt heads there. Just to be completely honest, it just doesn't look like it. Now, it looks to me like the United States is trying to slowly stop helping China, and I think they really want to start helping India. And this could get really interesting because when it comes to India, China is also trying to tie themselves into India more and more. But I also think the United States wants to try to build up India. So that's going to be interesting to see who can get more influence over the next 10 to 20 years. This isn't just like a 1 to 2 year play. When you talk about you're going to help a country build up, like the United States helped China build up, right? And China helped the United States as well. It's just they helped in different ways, right? If we're talking about something like this is like a 10 to 20 year play. And you're seeing glimpses of this already, right? This just came out a day or two ago. Apple says it will manufacture iPhone 14 in India. Apple said on Monday it will manufacture its latest iPhone 14 in India as a tech giant moves some production away from China. And don't be surprised if more production moves away from China over time, especially with all these geopolitical tensions, right? I mean, who knows where things are going here between China and the U.S. It seems like it's just getting worse and worse and worse over the past 5-6 years, to be honest. And, where are we at in 5 or 6 years from now? Or have things gotten better, or are they likely have gotten a lot worse? Well, if they're gotten a lot worse, oh boy, what does that mean for Chinese companies that are or U.S. companies that are operating in China at that point in time? And so these are things you have to consider as a U.S. corporation. I think that's why a lot of companies are trying to move production elsewhere and things like that, just because they're looking at this and like, this is not an ideal situation. Let's just put it that way. Not ideal by any stretch of the imagination, okay? Now, in terms of the market, because I know everybody wants to know kind of about the market and where things are heading and things like that, okay? We've still got 2 weeks of no man's land, in front of us right now. CPI comes out in mid-October, and then JP Morgan earnings come out right after that. That's where things start to get interesting, and that's when the market will start being driven by, what's going on with inflation numbers and earnings again. And then we got a gauntlet of earnings coming over that next 4 or 5 weeks. So that's going to all have to play out there. And so if you're thinking about where's the market go over the next 2 weeks, it's really in no man's land. Anything can take it anywhere. Any rumor, something, obviously look what happened today. Bank of England makes that move and all of a sudden, boom, equities fly high. So right now, it's anybody's game. It's just anybody's guess for the next 2 weeks. After that, CPI, earnings, and that's what will drive the market after that. So right now, it's just we're in no man's land in this market, guys. It's an interesting time out there in the markets. Hope you guys enjoyed today's video. As always, I appreciate you joining me and hearing my thoughts on all this. Once again, if you're looking to check out tendies, check out the pinned comment down there. And when you do, basically sort it by premium. And then look at some of the moves today in put option land. It was insane. The BABA moves alone. I mean, just check that out, guys. It's epic, okay? Pin comment down there. Much love as always, and have a great day.